Hello, hello! This is your Asian Empress, Queen Cobra, with yet another video from Fiji. Now, I was not really thinking about making another video because of the bad internet connection, but we have recently moved to a new service department in Denaro, and the Wi-Fi service here has been so much better, so why the heck not? We've moved to a more busy area, so it's a little bit noisier. You might be able to hear the road, but I'm really enjoying having my own space again. I'm really enjoying having my own kitchen, and the most wonderful thing is that we also have got this spare room that's got the most amazing mirrors. I'll leave that to your imagination, what sort of fun I'm gonna be getting up in here. So for today's question and answer session, I will be answering 3 questions that were sent to me via Facebook. Now, as always, all identities are kept anonymous unless you request for me to say it out on camera. So, and these 3 questions are very interesting questions, really good questions, and I hope that they will help somebody. So question number 1 is, what would you say to someone vanilla just stepping into this community? I think that is a question that a lot of people do ask, especially when you're first starting out. Now, what I can say to somebody who's just making the debut into the community is that you are about to meet some of the most open-minded, easygoing and accepting people ever. I mean, for a lot of us, we're probably very used to having our kinks judged and being called like weird or psychos, but when you step into a BDSM community, I feel that, it's such a wonderful safe space and everyone is so accepting, and also finally somebody that finally gets what makes you tick, finally someone who understands what you go through and what you like. I remember the time that I was first coming out into the BDSM community, and I was also really shy and reserved, and I really didn't know what to expect either. And when you start opening up to people gradually, you find out that people are really just non-judgmental and are really open, and if you find the right people in the right community, it really does feel like coming home. I mean, for instance, I remember the first time I told somebody like, oh, by the way, I really like strangling, I like strangling boys, or I like strangling people while having sex. And the next thing you know, people are going like, oh yeah, by the way, I really like, I love choking my girlfriend as well. And the next, it's, and you kind of feel, wow, there are people out there just like me, and there are people out there who are not going to judge me and make me feel different. And I feel that through the community I've learned so much. So if I had any advice to a beginner or to a vanilla person who's just coming out for the first time, is to really have an open mind, be a decent person, be a genuine person. I mean, there are no airs and graces, even when I go out in the community, even though people know me as a model and a performer, but I want people to just see me as a fellow human being. There's no like, oh, you're a goddess and you have to kneel and you have to, there's certain protocol. I don't believe in protocol in public. So, it's just go out there, just make a friend, make a couple of contacts, and you never know what might happen. Just have an open mind and relax, have fun. And you know what? If you're vanilla with not very much knowledge about the BDSM lifestyle, that's okay too. Because the people in the community that I know are some of the most non-judgmental people ever. And this is just, you're making little baby steps into finding out what the real thing is from people that are genuine lifestylers and people that will keep you safe, instead of finding out from very, very one-sided or inaccurate sources, such as from femdom porn or from the 50 Shades series, for example. So I honestly believe that if you find the right community, you're in good hands. There's nothing to feel shy about, nothing to feel ashamed about, and the right people will point you in the right direction. Question number 2 is a question I like very much. They say having a DS relationship is more loving, trusting, and connected relationship than the vanilla world. What makes DS relationships better than vanilla? I feel that the first thing about DS is that not everyone gets it. So if you're vanilla, that's fine. I'm not knocking vanilla relationships, If you're kinky, you're kinky. If you're not, that's okay, Just want to get that out first. But now, touching on the DS side, I feel that DS relationships communicate a lot, and we also communicate more about things that are usually not touched on in vanilla relationships. Now, in a lot of DS relationships, it involves a huge amount of communication, a huge amount of negotiation with regards to consent and the type of play that we engage in. So I feel that communication itself makes the relationship very deep, and you really get to see your partner in a very raw, exposed, vulnerable state that a lot of people are not willing to show to the rest of the world. So for example, a slave who has willingly given his heart to his dom to be degraded, abused, and to be whipped or spat on, or that is something, that's a level of trust that you very rarely see people surrender to another human being. So I feel that it takes a lot of courage for a submissive to be able to be as raw and as exposed to his or her dominant. And it is just really a side of people that you rarely see. You expose yourself to the other person in such a manner that's with such vulnerability, and also with such trust in your partner that, hey, you will not violate my terms, and I trust you to keep me safe. And I think that is just an aspect that a lot of vanilla relationships don't have. Also, I find that what's so different in a BDSM relationship is a lot of people spend an inordinate amount of time, or I do at least, spend a lot of time vetting people and getting to know people, talking to people, about ourselves and what we like. So by the time a play session actually happens, you actually already know so much about the other person. And I think this is very important because, in a BDSM relationship, you are engaging in potentially very risky activity, and you are engaging in activities that, that's very specific to your likes, dislikes, and your turn-ons. It's not very often you tell people what a sick fuck you are, right? For instance, you see, the spectrum of kink is so wide. And people have very different limits, and some people have very mild limits, and some people have very extreme limits. So if I were to start playing with somebody who is a fairly sensual, gentle submissive, and I began playing with him like a sadist, that would be a complete disaster. I could end up hurting somebody or traumatizing somebody really bad. So, which is why it's very important that BDSM couples are always communicating, always talking. I think today's vlog is just gonna be completely about communication and talking, but that's what it is. That's why that's what's so important in BDSM relationships. So, we take a lot of time getting to know our partners. We take a lot of time vetting people to make sure that they're real players, real lifestylers, and not just the odd pervert or creep looking for a cheap thrill. So because of that, we know our partners very intimately. We know very intimately what drives them, what turns them on, and we know their deepest, darkest fantasies and secrets. I mean, how often is it that you go and tell somebody, hey, I really like strangling, or hey, I really like slapping girls, How often is it that you tell somebody that? And as a matter of fact, a lot of kinksters very rarely share about their kinks or their perversions outside of their relationships. So it's because of this intense sharing, this great intimacy and trust and honesty with each other. This is why I feel that BDSM relationships are so solid and are so honest and incredible compared to vanilla relationships. I think it's really something special to have somebody who's so willing to bare their soul to you on such an intense and incredible level. I think it's a really rare thing to find somebody who's so willing to even let you know about all his kinks and perversions and all of his sick thoughts and fantasies, and trust that you will not judge him. And I think it's also really incredible for someone to trust you on that level, to push him, to use him, to abuse him, to your pleasure, and to bring him just shy of his safe word, and to trust that you're going to keep him safe. And, to me, that's just completely mind-blowing. It's something that's so difficult for me to put into words. And, the fact that he trusts me to bring him to that space, to bring him to that level, and also to bring him back down and to look after him. That is a trust that I really cannot put into words, and it's just, the feeling is just undescribable. And my favorite thing as well about post-session is the aftercare. I mean, the cuddles, the kisses, looking after your submissive, and just seeing the marks you've left on his body, and just seeing him and saying, wow, this is mine, this is what I've done, this is what he allows me to do. And that's just something that I've never experienced before in any vanilla relationship. The ability to take somebody, break them, rebuild them, make them stronger. And the fact that they trust you so completely to do all of that. They trust you to tie them up, trust you to blindfold them, trust you to hurt them. It's just insane. I mean, there's just no words for it. You might hear a little bit of distraction because there are lots of buses coming and going on the road outside, but I suppose it's not very much you can do about it. Anyway, question number 3. Now this is something I feel is very relevant to a lot of people, whether you are in a BDSM dynamic or a vanilla relationship. How do you handle jealousy? The big green-eyed monster. Now, I always feel that the first rule in a BDSM relationship, or any relationship for that matter, should be that the both of you agree to communicate in an open and honest manner. So if you and your partner are feeling jealousy, whether for a legitimate or irrational reason, it is very important that you talk about it. It's very important that you assess these feelings and talk about them in a very open manner, in a very even-tempered, non-emotional way as well. Because the last thing you want when you're talking about feelings of jealousy is to come across like you're accusing somebody. And if you approach the subject in a very hot-headed manner, usually it can turn ugly. So, I mean, for me as a dominant, I have feelings of jealousy as well. Sometimes I feel that they're not rational, but they still happen. I mean, we're all human. Also, I've come to realize over the years that one of the most effective strategies and one of the best ways to curb feelings of irrational or unnecessary jealousy is just to keep yourself really busy. I mean, keep yourself productive, keep upskilling yourself, keep adding value to yourself, and keep focusing on making you the best version of yourself that you can be. And you will find that once you're productive, you'll become more self-assured, more confident, and you'll be happier as well when you're doing something useful. So when you are at that level, you must imagine that you're making yourself this confident, impressive, and wonderful person that your partner is going to be so very proud of. I mean, you wouldn't really need any reason to be jealous because he'd be stupid to try and walk away from this. I mean, you would be a force to be reckoned with, and who's going to be able to compete with you? So be kind to yourself, love yourself, and focus on yourself. Pick things that you love to do, pick up a dance class, focus on learning a new language, whatever rocks your boat, whatever that works for you. And before you know it, you'll see that, when you're happy, when you're self-assured, the world sees it. You're a force to be reckoned with. And before you know it, those feelings of jealousy, insecurity are just going to melt away and wash away. And you'll wonder, what was that all about? I think it's also very important to acknowledge that just because you're dominant, it doesn't mean that you can't be jealous or you don't go through feelings of jealousy. And this applies to both genders. Now, I mean, for me, I am an extremely jealous lover, and which is why I've only ever been interested in monogamous long-term relationships. And I've also been very, very lucky to have a very supportive partner who's on the same page about communicating and about, that we don't stop talking. And we've always been able to assess triggers and to be able to talk through these feelings of jealousy as and when they arise. And on the flip side as well, I understand, sometimes he might be feeling a little bit insecure with the fact that I am a fetish model and performer. I mean, I don't know if this is true, but, it's very, very important for me that before he's even come forward about his feelings of jealousy, that, it's very important to me that he knows exactly who I'm hanging out with. It's very important to me that he knows my co-models and co-performers, and he knows exactly what we're going to do. So that way, you see, the communication is completely open, completely honest. We don't hide anything from each other. I don't hide anything from him. And that is how our relationship has been able to work in a very, in a fantastic manner. And, I am very grateful that he is somebody who is on the same page as me about, being calm and even-tempered. So, that works for us. So I feel that it's very important for you and your partner to find a bit of a common ground and to find a solution that works for both of you and to find a happy compromise. the most important thing, as always, I feel, is to handle the topic with an even temper. And if you blow up at your partner, that's only going to make things worse. It's going to make things turn bad, and sometimes completely shut down the communication. So yeah, to put it all in a nutshell, the most important thing about handling jealousy is to be open and to communicate. Don't stop talking, never stop talking, and be as open and honest with each other as possible. And I feel that, if your partner is constantly or deliberately making you jealous at all times, it's probably time to reevaluate that the relationship might not be the healthiest of all. And if this person is using jealousy as a weapon to control you, then it's probably a good idea to start reevaluating the relationship and to start making decisions whether it's a healthy relationship to stay in at all. As always, guys, thank you so much for following my channel, thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you so much for following me on all my other various social media accounts. Now, I really enjoy my time here in Fiji, but I'm also really looking forward to getting home. And I'm also really looking forward to hitting Manila and Bangkok. I can't wait to see everyone there. My flights have been booked, my itinerary is set, and I'm sure that you guys are also desperate for me to get out of these vanilla clothes and put on something a little bit more fetishy. So until then, I might speak to you again from a different country, different location, who knows. And until then, behave yourselves, be good, bye bye!